Welcome back to the Arise interview, where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things around the world and featuring the voices at the heart of the stories. I'm Charles Aniagolu. Now let's talk about the Nigerian Public Complaints Commission, which is supposed to be there to look into the complaints of citizens about oppression and victimization by officers and institutions of government and protect them from such abuse. The prevailing perception, though, according to one study, appears to be to the contrary, that far from being there as an ombudsman for the people, the Nigerian Public Complaints Commission has evolved into a wasteful and inefficient bureaucracy with a long history of close and intimate association with the government and the civil service. And this has transformed the Commission more or less into an arm of the civil service and virtually eliminated its unique ombudsman features. Well, that's the view of one report. Another cites numerous examples of where the Commission has stepped in to support the public against the government. Just a few days ago, the Commission invoked its constitutional powers to stop the Federal Capital Development Authority in Abuja from demolishing structures along the airport road pending the completion of an investigation. So, an ombudsman that stands with the people, or a commission that's not fit for purpose? Well, to answer those questions, I'm joined now in the studio by the Chief Commissioner and Ombudsman of the Nigerian Public Complaints Commission, Abimbola Ayo Yusuf. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Good afternoon.
And congratulations, you just started the job about a month ago, I understand.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
What's the relevance of the Public Complaints Commission in Nigeria? I mean, I know it's supposed to be essential to Nigeria's democratic development, but just explain to us why and how it is manifestly essential.
Okay, the Public Complaints Commission is essential for the populace, the general populace. We're for retreat, maladministration, and injustice. And that's the problems of Nigeria today started from
a long time ago.
And it's because we're not listening to agitations from other people. But right now, we are here. We've been around for like 50 years. But now we're around down to now make everybody understand that yes, the public complaints is for the masses. You can't get across to the National Assembly, you come to the Public Complaints Commission to redress your problems. And that's why we're here now.
Okay, well, just to be clear on your remit and the sort of work that you are obliged to do, what are the statutory provisions for the Commission? Because it's supposed to have wide powers of inquiry and investigation, doesn't it?
We do have.
Right.
We have wide powers of inquiry and investigation. We can investigate local, state governments and federal government, parastatals, private companies, as long as they're all under the Constitution of Nigeria. We can investigate. We can start investigations without complaints on our own. We call it proactive or systemic investigation, things that will probably affect the nation. So we don't have to wait for people to come and complain.
Right, so what are some of those things? I mean, you've been around for quite some time now. What are some of the things that you have had initiated on your own without it coming from the public? I mean, because you're supposed to observe government and say, hey, you're going wrong here.
Well, I remember when we end SARS, I was commissioner for Lagos.
Right.
And I remember that I was supporting bad democratic government then, because I knew that we had differences. And in Lagos, I was trying to get into some of them, which I did actually. And now that I'm federal, I'm sure I'm still going to do.
And you were in the same Public Complaints Commission, but you were a commissioner in Lagos State. Right, so you were in charge of Lagos State. Of course, Lagos was the epicenter of the EndSARS protest. But in such circumstances, do you see the limitations of your organization? In other words, the limits of what you can and can't do. Because, I mean, technically you're supposed to give orders to government agencies to say, stop doing this whilst we investigate.
Yes.
But clearly nobody was listening to you during the NSARS protests.
Well, the government was listening, but it just went out of hand from the protesters.
Well, it wasn't just the protesters. I mean, it was there were allegations against the army, the police, and all the rest of it.
We can't investigate the armed forces.
Right.
We don't have rights to do that, except it's a civil military agenda.
What about the police? The police are part of the armed forces, I guess.
Yes, they're part of the armed forces as well. We can only investigate their promotions,
right,
their pensions.
But you can't investigate their actions. So if they go out there and shoot a lot of people, I can't complain to you.
They have their complaints commission as well.
Right. No, I understand that. But I mean, you're supposed to represent the public. I mean, the public are supposed to be able to come to you about complaints.
When they complain to us about the police, we take their complaints and take to their commission. So
right. And then leave it to them or follow it up.
We'll follow it up.
Right. Okay.
Police brutality is what it's what we do. We can investigate them on that.
Right. Okay. And in a country like Nigeria, where either in terms of perception or practice, there is the sense that officers of government use administrative power to oppress and victimize the people and abuse them. I'm sure you've come across that. How do you intervene to protect them? What action do you take?
Well, when the complaint comes, we write to the organization, we ask for the management to come around, we have a case conference and we talk about it, and I'm sure it will be resolved. We always get it resolved when it comes to maladministration and injustice within agencies and companies.
Well, give us examples of where that has happened. Because, I mean, you sound terribly casual about it. I mean, if something horrible has happened to me and I come to you, I mean, you pick up the phone and ring up your chums at the civil service and say, hey, come over, let's have a cup of tea and talk about this.
No, we don't talk about it over a cup of tea.
Right.
You sent a letter to come. You come, we invite the respondent and the complainant, and we sit down and we settle it.
Right. So what would give us examples of situations? You don't have to mention names, but you can certainly mention circumstances.
Well,
I mean, that's the whole point of talking to you, to enlighten us about what you're doing.
Okay, like now that I am the chief, in my agency, my commission, we have injustice as well that I am treating right now.
Right.
So I'll just leave it at that we ourselves, we need to clean up ourselves before we come out. So we're cleaning up the injustice as well. So it's everywhere.
What do you mean injustice? You mean within your commission?
Yeah, it's everywhere. Like you have people that get special promotions
that they don't deserve.
They might even deserve.
Or people protest.
They might deserve it. People are protesting it.
Right,
So that means they're not happy about it.
Right. So you investigate it to make sure, that those people are actually deserving their promotion.
And whatever they give to them is deserving.
Right.
Not like just taking you from one level to like 3-4 levels above. So that's...
Does that happen a lot?
Well, that happens everywhere. For the Nigerian context of a special promotion, but there are always parameters to special promotions. So if you go beyond the limits of the parameters, then you have done great injustice to other people within the agency.
But that's just one example. I mean, give us examples of the types of complaints. I mean, what are the most common complaints that you get?
Power complaints.
You mean like electricity?
Electricity.
Right.
High tariffs, crazy bills, complaints about bad roads, traffic.
But that hasn't changed. I mean, you haven't managed to get them to start supplying electricity. You haven't managed to get them to fix the roads, have you?
No, the roads were being fixed in Lagos when I was in Korea.
No, I'm not talking about Lagos. I'm talking about the country. You now represent the entire country.
Yeah, but I just started it, and I'm just going to I'm bringing my wisdom from Lagos.
Right.
To run for the federal round, so it's going to still, I'll get it done.
Right, so what sort of reforms would you, I mean, you talked about cleaning up the house That suggests that the house was quite dirty when you got there.
Not really dirty, but people were complaining. I just came in and I've had complaints already, and I'm on top of it.
Right. So what sort of reforms would you advocate? I mean, you've now been there for just over a month. You've had the chance to have sort of handover notes given to you. You've kind of looked at the Public Complaints Commission. You've looked at its history, what it's done, what it's been doing, what you'd like it to do. What sort of reforms would you advocate?
Well, there's a lot of reforms to be done with Public Complaints Commission. Number one, we lack funds. And without funds, you can really not do much.
Right.
And that, I guess, has been the problem with Public Complaints Commission all
So
the while.
they set you up and gave you no money, basically.
There's no money.
Right.
But right now, with the amendment of the Constitution, we're pleading for them to amend our Act, because the Act has been done since 1975.
Right.
And it's really did not
It needs
give
to be
us
brought up to date.
to bring up to date to give us enough powers that can enforce.
So what sort of powers are you looking for? What kind of legislative amendments are you asking for?
Okay, in the former Act, it says when you write a call for a respondent, if he doesn't come, the fine is about 500 naira. And
that's ridiculous.
Very. So if you call companies or agencies, their lawyers will just say, "Oh, don't worry, public complaints, 500 naira."
Yeah, of course. I mean,
so we're trying to amend that to increase the fine. We're asking them to give us powers that when whatever we resolve at will be binding.
So what are they doing about those fines? I mean, it should be obvious to the legislature, though, that, I mean, surely that's completely ludicrous.
The Senate President and the Speaker have said they're going to help us with our Act.
Right.
Right. We've given them a new Act. We want them to repeal that one.
Right.
And give us
a new one in.
Put a new one in. And the new one will have fines of like 5 million. So definitely anybody would have to respond to us.
Absolutely.
We'd have timing of responding within 2 weeks, 14 days. And if you don't do that, we can now fine you and you get punished for it. So that, I'm sure, will give us enough powers. And we need a lot of funds, operational vehicles, most of our states. We have offices all over the 36 states and FCT. And each state has a minimum of 5 area offices. And we are really adequately underfunded.
Right.
So we are looking for funds for that.
Right. And what sort of response are you getting to those requests?
The National Assembly they've promised to enhance our budget for us, and the salary of my staff does not commensurate with the salary of anti-corruption agencies. So we're also working on that as well for the welfare of the staff, because if the staffs are well taken care of, there will be the zeal to work. So that's all I'm working on.
Okay, well, stay with us. It's very interesting what you're saying. I mean, a lot of people don't know anything about the Public Complaints Commission, so having you here is actually very enlightening. So stay with us. You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our chat about the Public Complaints Commission in Nigeria, what it does and what it's supposed to do. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Charles Aniagolu, and my guest in this part of the program is the Chief Commissioner and Ombudsman of the Nigerian Public Complaints Commission, Abimbola Ayo Yusuf. Now, as you may know, the Commission is supposed to act as a check on government power, and Ombudsman, that is the constitutionally empowered instrument with which the people can control the excesses of the officers of government and ensure that they vigorously respect and implement the law. But in a country where the lines between the Commission and the civil service appear to be blurred, and government institutions often use administrative power to oppress and abuse the citizens, many argue that the Public Complaints Commission is not particularly relevant to Nigeria's democratic development because of significant failings in the way it handles cases and complaints, and because it is quite simply too bureaucratic. And of course, the Chief Commissioner of the Complaints Commission, Mr. Yusuf, is still with me here in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for staying with us. And there is a lot of flagrant abuse in Nigeria, isn't there? I mean, your in-tray must be overflowing with loads of complaints. I mean, you've talked about a number of those complaints, but I mean, do you get a lot of them, do you?
We do.
But you just said that most people don't actually know a lot about you, so...
Well, they didn't know before, but for the past 3-4 years,
right,
people have known about Public Complaints Commission. Because under the former chief commissioner, we really worked. But like I also said earlier on, paucity of funds slowed us down, doing a lot of adverts and reaching out to the populace.
But you're still doing work.
Yeah, we're working.
Right.
We're using the social media. We come onto the TV stations once in a while when we can afford to, or when except you call us for free like this.
Yeah, well, we're obviously not charging you any money, are we?
I know.
but I mean, there are some of those complaints, or are there some of those complaints that really set you against the particular department that is being complained about? Do you find yourself at loggerheads sometimes with the government?
Well,
I mean, not so much. I know you've just been here for a month and you're doing reviews and things, but I mean, in your history with the Public Complaints Commission.
Well, I have not. When I was in Lagos, I did not have any loggerheads with the government because whatever I requested for was done.
Was settled.
So I didn't have any issues with them.
Right, but that's what worries people. You know, if you notice in the intro, we said that some people believe that you guys are in bed with the civil service and government.
Oh, but so if as long as I settle your complaint, how I go about it, it's not shouldn't bother you as long as you're settled.
Well, I mean, obviously we're concerned that it's done in a legal and constitutional
of course,
manner.
it's done in a legal. It's done in a legal way because what we do is mediation. So it's not. We don't need to make you go to court. It's the two individuals that we can just talk to, and it's reasoning.
Right.
As long as you can reason, we'll get it sorted.
But clearly, the commission needs reform.
We need money.
Yeah, but you keep talking about money. Money is part. I mean,
money will do.
Yeah, but what would you do with the money? I mean, you've talked about buying vehicles. You know, the usual stuff.
Yes.
Buy vehicles, take flights, first class, business class, that sort of thing. I mean,
our services are free.
Yeah, but you would need to send...
We don't generate money.
No, I understand that.
We can afford to do all that.
Yeah, no, but you still have to go to places sometimes to investigate things, don't you?
Yes, we do that. That's why we need the operational vehicles.
Right. So you need a means of getting there.
A lot.
And as the chief commissioner, you'd have to fly first class or business class.
I drive. I only fly once in a while.
Right. So if you were going to somewhere in the northeast or in the northwest,
I wouldn't go there right now.
Okay. That's a good idea. So how did you come to be chief commissioner of the Public Complaints Commission?
How did I become it?
Yeah. I mean, tell us a little bit about how you evolved into that position.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned that you were in Lagos and so on, but tell us a bit more about that.
I was commissioner in Lagos, and during COVID, I actually still did work because there were people that were complaining. There were people that got arrested, got locked up in prisons, that I had to go out, help out, get them out of the prisons. So, and I was lucky that my speaker, the current speaker of the House, is my leader in the constituency in Surulere.
Right.
So I was just lucky to have him there, and he just chose me since I have experience from Lagos.
Right. So when you were helping those people who were locked up, how did you sort of go about it? You went to the police station and you said, "Here's my ID card.
No, they'd been locked up at the prisons.
Right.
And it was later that I got to know. They'd been there maybe 2-3 months.
What were they locked up for?
They said they were watching football somewhere, and the police just came.
Okay, during the COVID thing.
During the COVID.
So it had to do with the COVID regulations.
Regulations.
Right.
So they took them up, And they locked them at the station. From there, took them to court, remanded in prison. And they didn't have anybody to come for them. But I got to know through someone that came to the office. So I went to the prison. I saw the controller. Now give me the courts where the case was transferred to them. I went to the courts, wrote to the chief judge, and they called the magistrate to call them back, and they were granted bail.
Right.
That was how some of them got out of prison.
Right, okay. And apart from the complaints made to you by the public, you mentioned that the Commission is empowered by law to take action on issues that it believes are not in the public interest. I don't think you quite told us what some of those issues are that you've had to deal with.
One of them that are not in the public interest.
I mean, you mentioned the NSAS protest, generally speaking, but, you know.
Well, the other ones that I've told all my commissioners that we need to go into communal clashes, communal differences, right? That nobody's going to complain about that. We need to do proactive and systemic investigations into all that.
You mean like clashes between like ethnic groups and communities and that sort of
thing? Yeah, we can go into all that, because those are all the problems that have skyrocketed snowballed into our problems in Nigeria today. So we're going to be going into all that. So many things I want us to do.
So is it easy to reach you? I mean, if, for example, I wanted to make a complaint, what would be the process?
You can call us, get us on social media, or walk into any of our state offices or area offices and you complain.
Telephone you or something, or?
Well, telephone, there are a lot of phone numbers flying here and there. We have social media handles that you can reach.
Right. Okay, so people just need to Google the Nigerian
ombudsman.
Yeah. Okay.
Public Complaints Commission.
Right. And if mediation or conciliatory gestures from you don't work, I mean, what happens then?
It works.
No, but what if it doesn't? I mean, there must be ways of.
If it doesn't work, we'll refer you to somewhere else.
Right.
To, maybe the police, or probably tell you to go to court. But we most times we resolve our complaints. We don't, because we're faster than going to courts. So
and are there times that people are paid compensation? In other words, if somebody is wronged or injured,
they pay. Yeah, that's why you've come to complain. You're complaining that you're not satisfied with what happened here. Maybe you got sacked, or you got this. They'll complain. We go there. They get compensated. I received a lot of monies for people in Lagos when I was in Lagos. At least over 5-6 million that I received for.
Right, but your biggest hurdle is legislative reform.
Yes. If you get that,
if that happens, you'll be in ship shape. Okay. If that happens, do come back and talk to us.
I'll be too willing.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Abimbola Ayo Yusuf is the Chief Commissioner and Ombudsman of the Nigerian Public Complaints Commission. That's it for this edition of the Arise interview. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye and thank you for watching.